Hey everybody, Scott Roberts here from Explore Scientific, and this is episode 27 of the OpenGOTO Community Live, and we are very pleased to have you here on this Monday, July 13th. We have a number of things that we wanted to cover today, so we're going to go through it as quickly as we can. If you have any things that you want to bring up to us, just mention it in your comments, and we will interact with that. So anyhow, one of the first things that I wanted to talk about was we had questions. What was the question that we had about the EXOS2 mount before? Something about the construction of it, correct?
Right. There was some about the bearings on the worm specifically.
I see.
Whether the worm had a bearing on it or not.
I see.
There was there was a question about that on cloudy nights, actually.
Okay. So I have a mount that we took apart, and one of the things I wanted to just kind of point out is that there's bearings. We have bearings on both axes. This is the deck axis that we opened up, but this inside here is a ball bearing. There is another ball bearing race here. Now you'll see on a lot of small mounts like this that you're not using ball bearings. You'll see like nylon surfaces or something like that to give it some slip.
Called a bushing, I think.
Called a bushing, exactly. Maybe that's showing a little bit closer, but you can see the bearing here and here. Okay, so it's kind of a.
Might bring up your screen full size on your image there.
I am.
Oh.
You don't see
I'm delayed.
Yeah. Right. So that's on both axes for declination and right ascension. Then you've got the worm itself, and if you didn't take apart, this is the worm. This is the worm block assembly right here.
And Scott, there's also bearings in the area as well, just like that.
That's what
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're identical. Okay. So on the worm itself are two small ball bearings. You can see one here, and one also on the other side, if I can hold that correctly. And that just really makes for a very, very smooth transition when that worm is turning, and that's also on both axes. So that should answer everybody's questions regarding that without you tearing your mount apart and trying to check it out. So, but
right. So this question came up because people are familiar with the old LXD75, which is EXOS2 is just based on in terms of the overall construction.
That's right.
But we've made several improvements to that.
Oh yeah, it's inside. It's very different than what the LXD75 system was. So and that change happened actually quite a few years ago for the EXOS2.
I think I'll go on the website and add that information on. That'll be a good information to add because it's not on there, and we can state that because it is a significant improvement.
And it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes. And then we had some questions today. Maybe, and we also have a contest. So the actual prize, Kent Marts is wearing it. It is the Explore Scientific button-down shirt. We use that in the office here often, and right, just to wear anywhere. Maybe like wedding parties, birthday parties, anniversaries, whatever.
What colors do they come in? Different colors?
There's some really
colors. They're going to be in red. There's like an orange color. I don't know if there's any of those left.
There are
no gray, and black. So
I think there may be some other colors back there too. It just depends on the size. The large and extra large and 2Xs fly out. They're the size that generally they're limited. So whoever limited availability. So whoever wins, I'll get the size from you, and then I'll go back and tell you what colors and do some research, find out what colors we have available, and let you pick. Right. So anyway,
Bill Black says that Kent should do some modeling on the side. So
you don't want me to be a foot model, that's for sure.
No foot modeling. Oh my goodness. Who do we have with us today? We got Ola Drake. Wolfgang says, good evening from Germany. Hope all are healthy. James, the astrophotographer, says hello. Jeff Wise says hello from Northern California. Nico Rochiev, hello from Argentina. Glad to have you guys watching us down there. Ron Delbo says hello. Redbeard says howdy to everyone. He said 3X would be awesome. Dave Connolly says hello, and he said he missed the last few shows with taking comet images. Well, I guess that whole schedule is changing right now, so I think that maybe we start to see it come up in the afternoon sky starting tomorrow. Is that right?
It's supposed to be up visible right over the horizon this evening. Like 10 degrees.
Oh.
It's just a few degrees north of northwest. It'll be right below the Big Dipper. Oh. And as the week progresses, it gets higher and higher and higher and moves back south. So it moves towards northwest proper.
Excellent.
And July 22nd is the closest pass, or the closest approach to Earth.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's going to be getting very intense. So that's very cool. Well, so to kick off our questions and answers, we're going to do this in the form of a contest for the first question. What is the question, Jerry?
So the question deals with, let me go back here to look at my notes here, actually the messages. So there was a topic on the main forum about tracking. A new user, Cohen, has reported an issue that he found with his tracking. So he did the alignment and polar alignment,
okay,
set up the mount, and he's got EXOS100, and he slewed to Doobie, and it tracked like it should have. He took an image, then he slewed to another star, and it took an image, and it was tracking correctly, and then he slewed to Jupiter, and it didn't appear to be tracking anymore. It acted like the mount was turned off. You got star trails with Jupiter.
Huh. Okay.
Which is really odd.
Yes.
So the question is there what do you think would cause that? Is there anything that you think would cause that? That it would look like it was working for one and then you slew to an object and it doesn't work all of a sudden.
Yeah, but we can't tell them yet, right? Or can we?
No,
we don't want to tell them yet.
No, so to be able to see what our thinking is on it, you have to go find this thread on the forum. As always, you have to go to the PMC-Eight OpenGOTO Community forum. And I will give you one hint. It's a recent post, and it's on the main. I'm just going to say that to make it a little easier.
Jeff,
so it's on the main.
Jeff,
so what's the question?
Out of cable when he went to see Jupiter. It was one of the.
So Jerry, restate the question, Jerry.
So the question is, the mystery is on this one is why would it track fine slewing to two different stars, but then when you slew to Jupiter it stops tracking? What could cause that? And you can see what we thought about it if you find that thread. And the answer to the question is, what did we suggest as the answer, as the cause of this, or one of the causes that it could be? That's the question. What did we suggest as an answer to this problem?
So Bob Trapezioni said Jerry was thinking clutches or some other mechanical issue. James the astrophotographer says loose clutch from slewing around back and forth.
Yeah, well,
Bob said Wes indicated it might be due to tracking in the southern sky.
So who was the first one?
Bob Trapezioni.
So he's the winner. So the other thing is, along with that clutch problem, it could be an imbalance in the counterweight to where it would slowly drag down with a loose clutch.
Yeah.
But probably the difference between RA and getting to the southern sky is probably the answer. I mean, the final answer. Loose clutch is a close second. You agree with that, Jerry?
What was it? What is your answer again? Say that again.
Yeah, the difference between, because the stars he went to are close to the North Pole, RA is so little movement over time that it didn't manifest.
I think Wes said that too. So the time that you took the image near the North Pole is a very small motion in RA in terms of the angular motion, as compared to near the meridian or near the ecliptic, probably where you would have more trailing going on. If you do I assume he did a 30 to 60 second exposure and saw this trailing.
So do we one winner here?
Well, the question was, what did I think? And that's based on our discussion earlier, Scott, right?
So what did he think?
That's right. Not what other people think. It's what Jerry thinks.
Right, exactly. That was the question.
Right. Okay. Well, that was good. Okay.
All right. So the winner is...
Got some good answers. We got some funny answers, but Dave Connolly said Jupiter moved. Okay. Which, could be.
So that's one of the side questions that were on the initial question. Cohen asked about, is there a real difference between Jupiter and the stars? Are they actually physically moving differently? And no, that's not the case at all. Jupiter moves so slowly against the sky background, you would never see it within a few minutes, let alone you might see it in a couple days. You might be able to detect with your eye that it did move a little bit, but in terms of a photograph or a session, you're not going to see Jupiter move amongst the stars like an asteroid might.
Right. And James, the photographer, says, I've also noticed this could happen after bumping into the mount.
Yes, that would cause.
That would cause it.
But that would cause other issues.
Car hitting it, or an asteroid hitting your telescope or something. Those are all possibilities, I guess.
So, Bob, send me your contact information, name, address, shipping address, and shirt size. Send it to service@explorescientific.com and put attention Kent and winner in the subject line, so I'll be sure and spot it, and I'll get you find out what the colors we have and get one shipped out to you next couple of days.
Yep. Okay. Excellent. Okay, so we have some other questions here, comments. Manmeet from India is saying, do we export to India? We can ship to any place in the world, but there is our office in China does handle India in particular. And so if you'd like to go to explorescientific.cn, you can go to the Chinese website, and they could probably get you the product a little faster than ordering one from the USA. If you want one from the USA, you can just come come to us and place that order, and we can ship it from here as well. So,
well, to ship from India from here, we have to do a custom order. So you won't be able to make the order online. You'll need to go through customer service.
Have to contact customer service to do it. That's right. That's right. And that's probably true also of ordering it from China. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And shipping from here is 20 to 30 days is what it's run in the past when I've sent something.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So,
all right.
These shirts are $35 on our website. So if anybody wants to go, and if you call me within the next day or so and say you heard it on saw it on the broadcast, I might be able to get Scott to sneak one past Scott with a discount for being a viewer.
We'll do that.
But don't tell Scott.
Don't tell me, because I'm listening right now.
Right.
Okay, so we had some other questions. Kent, what questions did you see on
Wolfgang?
Okay.
Wolfgang just asked a question.
Okay.
Can it be that the most problems and questions comes by misunderstanding the instructions?
How about not reading the instructions?
I think not reading the instructions may be larger than misunderstanding them. I think that's probably what Wolfgang was getting at.
That's true. That's true.
They want a toaster. Take it out of the box, plug it in, drop in 2 pieces of bread. A minute and a half later, 2 pieces of perfect toast. Whether it's the PMC-Eight or a microscope or whatever it is, they want it to just work. And
Marshall says, "Who reads instructions?" ?
Daniel Sanchez just asked, "Do we offer military discounts?" We do. We now require to see a copy of your DD-214 or current service ID or some measure like that, so we're actually honoring the people who have military discounts, and don't let everybody just exploit that, our goodwill. Okay, so let me get the list up here. So we had a customer who was unable to set the mount type in ExploreStar's iPad.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that.
So he was in the iPad. You go to the settings, and there's a place where you can specify the type of mount. And he was unable, and he was about to pull his hair out, and it would not give him the ability to change it. And we did some research, and I wish I could claim knowing this, but we went to Stephen, the iPad program developer, and there's a shortcut button that has to be turned on. So it's you'd think I'd have it memorized since I did it a couple of times. It's come on.
Is that shortcut in the settings on the iPad settings?
Yes, it is. So you go into the gear, the settings, and you go to keyboard. And then you turn on. So let me back up. So
you enable shortcuts or something, right?
You enable shortcuts. So you go to keyboard, which is right here, and then one of them is shortcuts. You can see where it says shortcuts, and these greens over here. You turn on shortcuts. And that fixes the problem. I can see how that would be very frustrating to someone that it doesn't work. So you turn on the shortcuts, and suddenly you get the window that you can scroll through that tells the different mount types that are available. And that was the answer there. So
there's another way, right? There's another way to do that, right?
What is it, Jerry?
So there's a button. There's a button on there on the ExploreStars app settings. It's called Use Firmware or not use firmware.
Yep.
And what that does, that goes out and queries your mount and says, what firmware do you have? And then it determines the mount type that way.
It's right there.
Ah.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
It says, what does it say right now? I can't see my screen.
Using FW, which means using firmware to set the mount type.
So I've changed it. That's how it comes default. Can you see
That's
that?
ignoring, right?
Ignores. So we're going to tap it. Did it change? Did I get it tapped?
Yes.
FW.
That's ignoring still, I guess.
And so just tapping back, it goes again.
W.
Yep. And so that it queries the mount and then knows what it is, and you don't have to manually change it, and it stays sticky at that point. So there we go. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a pretty straightforward answer. The easier way is Jerry's way, to just have that done, but there could be other apps that need that shortcut as well enabled, and so you might as well just turn it on.
Well, there's other thing. Now, one thing about that is you can't do that unless you've actually connected to the mount, of course. Otherwise, Explore Stars doesn't have any idea what it is. The other thing is that we have that ignoring because there's a way to manually select if you've got an older version of the firmware that doesn't support that feature. You have to have the latest firmware to support that feature, basically. If you've got an older version of the firmware that was delivered and you're using the latest version of the app, it won't work for you. That's one other gotcha there. So it's important to, if you need that feature, if you'd like that feature, then you go ahead and update the firmware.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So are we seeing any other questions? There's
Cohen
had a question.
Cohen has, is there a way to connect the iEXOS 100 with an internet cable to the laptop and not use Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
The cable is a serial cable. It's not an Ethernet cable. It wouldn't be on the network. It would be transmitted via a serial USB port. And it's a standard USB Type A to Mini Type B connection, I think is what it is. It's a Mini. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. It's USB to USB Mini.
Right. USB to USB Mini. That's right.
And so you can connect it to the laptop at that point, and basically Explore Stars leaves the picture, and you're going to have to start using a planetarium program, Karstocil, Stellarium, whatever. There's dozens of them. You'll have to use the ASCOM driver and configure everything to talk to each other. And in ASCOM, and we've done some shows on how to do this a couple of weeks ago, you use the POTH, the Path Dome Scope Control, to hook everything up to. It's a pretty straightforward process. There's a couple of little switches, radio buttons you have to turn on and activate. But watching the video from a couple of weeks ago is like episode 16 or something like that, I think, is about where we did them at.
Right. We've also demonstrated the connection to the different apps in terms of Karstocil and Stellarium. We also demonstrated that also.
And MaximDL and...
Right, MaximDL. Right, exactly. So there's lots of videos out there.
And Sky Safari Pro, we did.
Right.
Friday.
We did that. Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Terry Larriman out there is asking if they can ask questions in the comments. Absolutely, you can. Just ask away, and we'll do our best to answer them.
And he has asked a question there. He says,
"Okay,
I was reading the instructions. Applause for reading the instructions regarding balancing. We had just covered that a little while ago. It says it is best to imbalance an RA and deck. How can you know how much imbalance is correct?"
It's a very slight amount. Well, you'll know when you're too much because it'll
slightly imbalanced.
Right.
You move the counterweight, and now it starts to move like this. You don't want to put it all the way at the bottom and have this thing come around and knock you in the head. So.
Right.
Jerry, explain the point of what you're trying to do here. I think that's the critical thing.
So there's exactly. So these mounts come with a little bit of lash, okay, with the gear lash. So you want the gear mesh to push on one side of the tooth when you're driving.
Preloading the gear.
Preloading the gear. So that's the purpose of it. But also you'll know when you have too much when you start to get a racket out of the mount. It'll start ratcheting and start making all kinds of racket that you'll think it's broken, but it's not.
Not broken.
It's just that the torque the torque required exceeds what the torque delivered is from the motor, and that's when you know you're way overbalanced. But it handles, it'll handle some some counterbalance. It'll handle it, but you don't need to do that much. You only just need to do a slight amount.
It's just barely. It's just so the gear will always, teeth are always lifting, right? Is what you're looking for. To have the gear mesh, so you're always lifting. So it's a little bit camera heavy, is what there's debates out there on the forums about.
Yeah, on the jack axis, it's always camera heavy, right? Yeah.
And you always want it to be theoretically east heavy, so it's always lifting and not lowering. Because if your balance is perfect, then a little bit of wind can make the gear lash, or it just wiggles back and forth between the teeth it's engaged on. Whereas if you've got the weight always this way, just enough, it's always turning the gears. And so you want to have it just enough east and just enough camera to where that weight is always, it doesn't take much, just enough.
Right. And you should get your best guiding with that type of configuration.
Okay.
Yep. Daniel Sanchez is asking, what would you recommend to do both planetary and deep sky astrophotography in a short budget? Catadioptric telescopes with a reducer or refractor telescope with a Barlow lens? Probably, if it was my choice, I would probably start with an Acromat refractor. We have an f6.5 line. There's airspace doublets. There's amazing astrophotography done with them, especially in narrowband. There are people also using that telescope for solar. That series of the AR doublet line from Explore Scientific. So I probably would recommend something like that. And then if you need real long focal length, yeah, a focal extender, which is different from a Barlow lens, but one of those two things could work, or eyepiece projection could also work for planets, which is also very popular.
Right.
So I would just recommend that because of the contrast of the refractor itself. So it's
well, there's another big plus with that is you start with a system that's got a manageable focal length to start with when you're doing your deep sky.
Right.
You really don't want to. I mean, SCTs are great, but if you've ever experienced one and trying to do photography, it's really a tough road to hoe when you're starting out with a 2,000 or 3,000 millimeter focal length.
Oh yeah, yeah.
To me, the sweet spot for focal length is 1,000 millimeters because the sky is not going to give you any more than that in terms of the pixel scale. And you'll get into this when you get into astrophotography. Pixel scale is a big thing, and focus is a big thing too.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll find that out once you start getting into it.
Right. And it's good that we have some questions about astrophotography. We have today I was browsing the groups.io with Jerry, and he directed me to the astrophotography gallery. There's hundreds of astrophotographs and other images made with the PMC-8 system. And I wanted to kind of concentrate on the EXOS2 PMC-8 because we showed an EXOS2 mount today. What kind of images do we have there, Jerry?
Well, let me share my screen. I haven't gone through and identified each one in terms of EXOS2 or EXOS100, but I'll find them here. Let me just go to the gallery. I'll share my desktop here.
Okay. If you guys haven't been in that gallery, you should check it out. There's some pretty good stuff.
All right, can you see it?
Coming up. Here we go.
All right, there's some recent images. I don't remember. Do you remember if Dave Cherry's was with the EXOS100, right?
I'll look that up real quick.
Dave Cherry, I think, is EXOS2.
Oh, it is? Okay, so let me bring that up. This is the Pelican. The Pac-Man Nebula.
Beautiful.
So that's an excellent shot.
EXOS2 with a Skywatcher 72 ED.
Mm-hmm. What's the exposure time?
1.5 hours of data, 3-minute subs.
Wow.
1 master dark.
Mm-hmm.
using
Nice.
a ZWO duo band filter and an ASI 294 MC Pro cooled.
Beautiful.
50 millimeter guide scope.
Okay. So he's got some other ones here, I think. Let's see if this one. Who's this one? This is Daniel
Birdziak.
Birdziak.
Yep. 3 days worth of data.
3 days.
3 days worth of data. 300 30-second subs, 100 darks, 100 flats, and 100 biases. From
This is a North American Nebula, by the way. From
Bortle 7-8 skies, using a Rebel T6, a 50 millimeter 1.8 lens on an EXOS 100.
Yeah, EXOS 100. That's what I was going to say.
Yep. So let's.
That's a Western Veil Nebula here. This is kind of a. This is Vince White. Vince White took this one.
I'm looking for that. Do you have a date on it?
Yeah, it's July 6th.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had it. How did I miss it?
I can go to the message and look at it, I think.
Dave Connolly is wanting to know if any chance we could talk about the ES cameras. Not a lot, Dave. We still are not in a
there it
situation at this point where we're looking to carry those in the United States. I know they're available or will be available in Europe, but Gary Palmer is releasing a review of the cameras, and so that's probably going to be the most extensive information out there.
So you've got that picture up right now, Jerry, it looks like. That was taken with an EXOS2 GT.
Yep.
With a Bresser 208 millimeter f3.9 Newtonian telescope, with the HR coma corrector, a Celestron C90 Maxitov, a generic guide scope, Canon EOS RP with a ZWO ASI 120 MC clone, 2-inch Optilong L-enhanced filter, a UHC filter running on using a Raspberry Pi, and he's using a Mac, Indy, K-Stars, ECOS, Deep Sky Stacker, GIMP, Lightroom, Photoshop, SIRIL. So
nice.
It's a very nice picture.
Excellent.
Let me go back.
The data file shot. Nebula.
Yeah. I kept going to the next picture. It kept going. So let's go to the next page.
Look at that.
Yep, a lot of equipment.
There's a lot of people, and this is a topic I think we need to discuss at some point, is cable management. It's not really,
Yeah, let's look at the
necessarily
Cassegrain on the EXOS2 there. That's quite a bit mounted up there. Oh, that's not an X?
That's EXOS2.
EXOS2. Okay.
With PMC-Eight.
Different counterweight though. A little bit different counterweight. I see.
And it's interesting how he's used Velcro straps to rat tail all his cables together into a common point, trying to manage the weight management and get better tracking with better cable management. You see some of these that look like boiled spaghetti.
Right.
The wires just run everywhere.
That's kind of the MSRO method, because we change our instruments quite a bit over time, and if you bundle everything up and you get it all nice and neat, now you have to rip it apart when you change an instrument. But it depends on if you can get a common set of power cables and USB cables to be able to change instruments that way. Then that would be the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go to this one, M31. This is by WF. Is that Wolfgang?
WF. I don't know who WF is.
This is on June
Greetings from
24th.
Germany. That's from Wolfgang. Hey, that's
That's what I
Wolfgang.
thought. I thought that was Wolfgang. Yeah.
Nice.
So he's just an EXOS 100.
Okay.
Canon 1000D unmodified. A TS Photoline APO 74 or 72 432 telescope, a TS flattener, MGen standalone autoguider, 10 flat fields, all at ISO 100, exposure time 180 seconds. What are you on right now? Yeah, okay, so 13 single pictures for 39 minutes. Andromeda was with Lightroom in Frankfurt on Main. Astronomical darkness was over when he took those pictures.
Mm-hmm.
He says, but I am happy, and here is a statement that everybody needs to embrace. But I am happy with these pictures because I am still learning how to use my equipment. Yeah. And that's the attitude people have to take. This is a great picture for somebody who's not got background in it and they're figuring it out. The EXOS 100 is a great travel mount, and I'm still surprised about the payload for astrophotography. A really good mount. Greetings from Germany, Wolfgang. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your words.
Yep.
Let's look at this one. That's a rosette, I think, isn't it? Oh, no. Maybe it's... This is Chris Welliver. Is that his name? June 21st. Chris Welliver.
Beautiful.
Let me scroll down to it. I'm switching pages. We've only got like 26 pages on that thread of pictures.
Yeah, right.
That all.
Yeah, this is where everybody comes to show off their stuff.
No, that's cool.
So who is it? Chris Welliver?
Chris Welliver. Welliver.
I'm not finding it.
Let me go to the message. It's on
the EXOS2 mount.
On EXOS2 mount, right.
ED102. Okay. Carbon fiber.
A ZWO camera, ASI 120.
Mm-hmm.
And Prima Lucia Lab focuser.
Okay. Nice set.
And a Williams Optic Space Scat.
Right.
Nice. Very nice.
So Jerry, lots and lots of people use PhD2. Why is that?
That's really pretty much the standard for guide programs out there now. It's been around for a long time. It's been very well maintained. It's actually was Craig Stark created it, and then he released it to the open source domain for people to continue development. And it's got a large following, so it's got a lot of people that are adding and contributing to that process. So that's why it's such a good program, because a lot of people. But again, it's a Windows program. It's not I'm not sure if they've got a version of PhD2 on. I guess they may have a Linux version and a Windows version. I mean, and a Mac version. I mean, so I think they're out there available for those platforms also.
Yeah.
Yes, it's available for Mac, Windows, Linux. Yep, it is available on a Mac OS.
So that's basically why it's such, that's why it's used by everybody, because it's available for everybody on any platform.
A friend of mine, I should have him on the show sometime. So, D2.
So Nico Rochia, I love the gear photos. Someday I will have a great gear.
Show that one shot up there with the IXOS 100. That one. No,
this one here?
Yeah, that one right there.
Yeah. So Nico, don't worry about your English. Your English is fine.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's quite a setup there.
This is Chris Tardif. That's his rig. Got that long.
Guy's guide scope going. Auto guider camera. Looks like a Canon telephoto lens.
Yeah.
Looks like he's using our camera. Or it looks like our camera adapter dovetail.
I suppose.
And then he's got another dovetail.
Something coming out the front there.
For his guide camera.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
There was a question, I can't remember where we saw it. Maybe it was on Cloudy Nights, and someone was complaining about the uh, lack of an azimuth adjuster with the IXOS 100.
Right.
So I think the real problem, we have a completely separate model of the IXOS 100. You can buy it stripped down. It's a complete system. It's ready to use and all the rest of it. But if you want all the goodies on it, you want a polar bore scope or a polar scope. You want the azimuth adjuster and a rail so you can stick your DSLR camera. We supply it with all that, and we put it on a heavier duty tripod. So we call it the IXOS 100 HD. And if you look on the menu there, we've made the menu selection a little easier to get to this information of where these models are. But that's that particular package. So those of you who are thinking about getting into astrophotography, you're not wanting to spend over a grand. You might want to give this one serious thought. If you have a lighter weight, small telescope or DSLR type of astrophotography.
So Scott, this is the same price as the EXOS2 with PMC-Eight.
Right.
Why would you go with this versus the big brother, if you will?
More portability,
Right.
The sophistication of this isn't, these things aren't any easier to build. In some cases, it may be a little bit tougher to build than the EXOS2 because it is smaller. Okay, so that's part of it. And the IXOS 100 does have superb tracking. We've had lots of great comments on this mount. So
this is what the azimuth adjuster looks like.
Yeah.
And you can purchase that separately for the IXOS 100.
Yeah, you can build a system a la carte if you want.
Right. And this comes with the heavy-duty tripod, the system.
Mm-hmm. The HD system.
Right.
If you got a bigger telescope, then of course we're going to recommend an EXOS2, just so that it can handle that extra load.
Right.
And maybe I should raise the price now that you mentioned.
So speaking of which, if any of you are wanting to buy an EXOS2 with PMC-Eight, we have a couple left. They have really sold like hotcakes.
Yeah, this year has been just crazy as far as people getting into astrophotography for the first time. Under this terrible situation that we're under with the pandemic, it's made a lot of people have to stay home.
Mm-hmm.
A side effect of that has been people have been able to spend more time on their hobbies and to take up something new. And so, astronomy is one of the ultimate social distancing, activities where you can be socially distanced, but you can be online through the internet and work with hundreds of your friends. So, and have your images seen by thousands. So it's a really cool hobby in that respect. This is beautiful. Look at this.
This is a veil again. Dave Cherry.
Yeah, outrageous.
The EXOS2.
Mm-hmm. Superb tracking.
A lot of detail in it.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
So, Scott, Wolfgang asked, why can't I find the azimuth part on the German page on Bresser.de?
We brought that up before. They just have not had enough requests for it yet. So we have notified the office there during our meetings that people are interested in this product. But they base their what they put up on the site based off of customer requests. So that's the reason why.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't carry everything that they have either because There's some things that just we have not had a lot of call for yet.
So we had a question, who was it? Dave Conley is torn between it and the HEQ5 for his Comet Hunter. James, the astrophotographer, says you will not be disappointed. He's concerned about the weight after adding cameras and guiding. Okay, so Dave, let's address that real quick. We clearly state that the EXOS2 with PMC-8 will carry 28 pounds of astrophotography and gear. That does not include the counterweights. I'm looking up the HEQ5 right now, which says it's rated for 30 pounds. Which typically, historically, has meant that you're really, let's say 60% of that can be
photography.
For photography. So now you're only talking about 18 pounds of telescope and all gear.
Right. So I had an EQ6 back when I first bought my mounts, and that was rated for 45 pounds. And people typically said it's 30 pounds for astrophotography. That's what I went with back then. Now I'm sure the quality has gone up, and you can push these mounts, and it depends on your tolerance for and for vibration and other things that start to show up when you load it up really good. But it's up to the manufacturers to state what they think the best use and what the best load is for their mounts.
So it comes with 1.75 inch diameter legs. Our tripod is 2 inches. And as well as they have all metal gears on both axes to ensure rock solid performance. Jerry, why don't you address and we've talked about it before, but we have stepper motors. They don't say, my guess is, and Jerry will be able to answer this, they have DC servo motors.
Well, on the so we're talking about the Skywatcher mounts.
Yes, the
they have stepper motors. They have stepper motors.
They do. Okay, it doesn't say that, and it's a gear drive.
Right.
Okay, they don't state that.
It's got spur gears. Well,
right.
I don't know if so that's the standard HEQ5 mount that has spur gears. They've updated their mounts like we have belt drives on ours. They have belt drives on theirs. I don't know the details of the specific mounts, but you have to look at the specific model to see what kind of gearing system and what kind of drive system it has. But they do have, but they're stepper motors also.
So I'm just reading right now.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, all right. So that's our sales pitch to you.
Yeah, buy ours. They're better.
I'm sure if you call them, they'll give them their.
Here's the real answer, guys. They all make great equipment. Okay, they all do. They really do. You just need to find what's going to fit for your particular system, and I will. I'll be the first to admit it's so much fun to build a system. And so whether you're using all Explore Scientific gear or you're using a mix of all kinds of brands to come up with a custom system, I don't know. It's interesting and fun to make all the pieces of the puzzle fit.
Right.
That's part of the hobby. So we can just say basically that we can show some performance of our product. You can look at reviews and stuff online. I would say overall, though, one of the things to really look at closely is the support that you get behind the product. And that's something that we work really hard on here at Explore Scientific. There are no companies out there that have done everything perfect. Of course, we have had our problems as well, but we're always right back there doing everything we can to try to make the customer happy and to get them into a solution that will satisfy them and make them successful. So that's our goal. We want to see everybody turn out shots like you saw here today. and to really enjoy observing the night sky and making astrophotographs they're going to be proud of.
That's right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And
So I just stopped sharing my screen.
did you? Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If there are no more questions here.
Cohen made a statement, asked about because he noticed he was asking about the Windows and wired connection.
Yeah.
The Windows and the PC is not the best in connecting through Wi-Fi. We always say that if you're going to do astrophotography, you really need to be going through a wired connection because it's a robust, stable, not prone to external interference.
Yeah.
Whereas Wi-Fi, some guy down the street fires up a radio or turns on a microwave oven or something.
Or his own Wi-Fi network, that he's
Right.
he's upgraded, boom. Okay.
Right. There's the other side of it is also the quality of the device that you're running Windows on. Just like Android and now iPad, you can guarantee service level or quality level. But in terms of Android and the PCs that you run the wireless on, you can get different results, and your local traffic impacts that.
Yeah. Redbeard has a question: which is the smallest PMC-8 mount that can handle Losmandy D plate? It is the Losmandy G11. That's the smallest one. Yeah.
So we have a Mr. Thump 30 has a somewhat G11 related question.
Okay.
I have the Common Hunter as well, and I'm saving up for the G11.
Yeah.
Does ES have plans to release a mount in between the EXOS2 with PMC-8 and the G11 with PMC-8?
What I can tell you is that we have had plans on the books for years of all kinds of different mounts and telescopes and accessories. Okay, we're always working on something new. We have designed something in between it, but we haven't released anything yet. So, and when will we? I really can't say. But it's not. What I can tell you is that if it was soon, I would probably be leaking information out to the PMC-8 group earlier than perhaps our regular ads. So
yeah, we
know about it more. You'll hear more as you stay closer to the fire here, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Scott's smiling. He's happy. Scott always smiles, though. So.
Yeah, well, it's so cool to spend time with our community and to talk about the product and to show off images and stuff that our customers have done. I think it's really cool. So really enjoy it. Well, gentlemen, I think that we have hit the end of our program today. Tomorrow we've got, who's coming on tomorrow, Jerry?
So tomorrow we get a treat. We get to talk to people that are interested in the Indy driver and what they do with with Linux. And Michael Fulbright, who's the developer of the Indy driver, is going to be on with us tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I worked with him closely early on as part of the OpenGOTO community to help him develop this system. And I wasn't involved directly with coding at all. Michael did all the work. I just gave him some information that he needed to know to get it working. So, but he prototyped the pulse guiding on the Indy system. Actually, we developed that first in terms of working out how it should work, and then I ported that method over into the ASCOM driver when I released it back in 2017. So the Indy driver has been around for
a while.
Almost 3 years, right? Almost 3 years, I think. Mm-hmm. But it's slowly built up. The ASI Air, it got into the platform. It got into the Indy platform as a driver, as part of the platform, and then ASI Air picked it up and is including it as part of their platform now. So every little bit helps to get it out there. And then people have been doing their own development on the driver also with their Linux system. So. And it also works on Mac OS, although we're not going to be able to speak too much to that because we don't have any real experience with that, but I know that a couple of our customers are using Mac OS with the Indy server already. So that'll be tomorrow.
Okay, that's great. And on Wednesday, I think it's Wednesday, we have Dan George who's going to be joining us. And Dan is someone I've known for a long time. He was the guy who started the Boshalom Birding Council. He is an expert birder, and one of our astrophotography advisors, Sheldon Faworski, has been using the Explore Scientific ED80 to make remarkable images of birds. I've been posting some of them on the Facebook page, so you see those beautiful, super sharp images of hummingbirds and songbirds and stuff like that. Those are all from Sheldon. So I talked to Dan George, who's a good friend of Sheldon's, to maybe give us a little bit of information about each bird and what you can expect to see, from their behavior. So, and that should be Wednesday at about 6 p.m. Central. So, and I think that's all we have for right now, guys. I think it's a wrap.
Yeah, I think it was a good show today.
Yep. Everyone, thanks for your chats and your comments and your questions. And we will see you tomorrow, same time, same channels. And take care and keep looking up.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
That's
What
right.
I was thinking every time. Everybody.